this wonderful, unfortunate situation that's going on in Europe. Oh, I forgot my cap. And between Israel, Palestine, if I understand it correctly. Excuse my voice. I had COVID and it sort of fucked me up big time. So for those of you who think it was an international conspiracy, it wasn't real. It had actual real effects on people. So yeah. Well, okay, my view quickly. Not a big fan of the globalist Jews who try and force all their beliefs and ignorance on top of us. But that's now changed. It's now become people like Bill Gates and Facebook's guy and Amazon's guy and the ex-Twitter's guy. So that global group of people has now been diversified, which is probably why they want to diversify us. Now the thing is that South Africa was a test case for the globalists. But what they didn't think about is that we are a sport nation, and I can't say this enough. If there's one thing that holds us together, it's that one thing. It doesn't matter whether or not you watch soccer, whether or not you watch rugby, whether or not you watch women's football. It doesn't matter what it is. Athletics. You have the whole country behind you, and everybody is stuck against the TV or listening to the radio or getting updates from their friends. So when the globalists thought that they did a good thing in South Africa, they made a very big mistake, because you can't have people from other countries with other religions, other beliefs, other ways of living come to your country and expect them to fit in. They're not going to want to. They're going to want to push down their beliefs. Now, we're fortunate in South Africa where we have a small community of Muslims who are fairly liberal, and you get the one odd person that's kind of a dick when it comes to work functions and whatever, but he eventually just gives up because 50% of the other crowd just says that it's okay. Well, let's go for it. Just make sure we have the right food according to our religion, and it's not too invasive on our religion and our culture, and we okay with that. And so that's what we have here in South Africa. But that's been coming on for a long time, and that's what people don't understand. I mean, the 1600s we had boats sinking here or docking here. 1654 was the first boat. Then they started bringing in, and yes, it wasn't a slave trade, but it was sort of slave trade. So you would come from Europe, Netherlands, Holland, whatever you want to call it. You'd stay here for 5 years, and then you would be able to go back home. So basically it was a prison camp or similar. So you were forced to come here. It wasn't a sort of, we came to take over your country, They wanted stuff done. They got stuff done. And some farmers stayed over. And and they grew the country into what it was, which was great at a stage, but at the end, before the fall of the regime and before the interference of the rest of the world, let's be very clear on this, that there was a ongoing process where Mandela was going to take over, okay, and the government party in charge at that stage was already that he was living in a house with a chef and bodyguards. Why do I know this? Because I know people that worked there at that stage when he was there. So it's not like he was locked up in a cell like the whole world likes to think. Robben Island was another thing. There he was locked up. But there I know another person a god who for money, and then wrote a book about it, thinking he's a real fucking hero, who took letters or notes and passed it on to whoever. And through that, if nobody knows this, but Nelson Mandela, he was the creator of MK, which was the violent faction or the military faction of the ANC government. So in other words, they were blowing up people, blowing up malls with babies and children. Doesn't matter what color they were. They were the ones that were doing the farm murders, which is still practiced at this stage. So, and they were all trained by Russia and so on and so on. So, I personally, as a South African, I don't like anybody overseas. It's kind of funny, but I feel sorry for you guys because you haven't got something that can hold you together. The Irish obviously got rugby. The All Blacks got rugby. Australia sucks at the moment, so they had rugby, but they're losing every game. So, yeah, sorry Australia, you're out. But we're not just a one-sport country. We're a sporting country. So, in other words, and when I talk about that, you must realize it's like a religion. It's not we sit here and everybody just watches a game. Everybody's passionate. Everybody's shouting. Everybody's screaming. It's like sitting in a church on a Sunday and everybody is praying to God and, dancing, singing, speaking in languages, whatever you want to call it. It's a very similar situation. You've created something that is keeping people together, and the West can't do that because they don't have anything to keep them together. So they've gone this diversity route, but they didn't take into consideration that South Africa is very different from what the rest of the world is. We're a sporting nation. We're obsessed with sport. So we've got something, we found something in common. And I'm hoping to God that in the future that the rest of the Western civilization finds something in common. Because the way it's going now, it's not going to end well for anybody. Well, we'll be okay. We'll just not have anybody to play rugby against. So, that'll be kind of sad, I'd hate to go back to the old days where it was just provincial rugby. the international rugby is quite more, it's more interesting. Yeah, so, but I got this new guy I followed, and one of the guys that started this whole globalist movement is one foot in the grave. I can't remember his name. And now it's not George Soros. I won't talk about George Soros. I hate him. I wish him all the bad in the world. He's a horrible person. But what I have found is that people that have followed in similar footsteps than what he has, and Bill Gates, and Facebook's guy, and all these guys that are now that played God with other people's lives and with countries' lives, because that's what they did. Is they put messages out there that was put out there for the whole world to listen to, not and for people to believe, and they cut out the important pieces of the messages that went out. So in other words, they would basically take one story and just have one point, or they'd manipulate the story and remove the background behind the story, and it's very easy to conquer a country when there's differences in the country, diverse groups, and it does sound stupid, because all over the world we're hearing diversity is our strength, but it isn't. Having one similar thing to work towards, or to unite a country, that is, or a group of people, that is the most important thing that you can have in a country, that you want in a country. And the West doesn't have that, because they've got all these various groups of people that are causing problems, and it's just gotten out of hand. So we're getting to a point where the pendulum's starting to tip. Okay, but the problem is and this is where I'm at, is this thing's about to tip, but it's about to tip at either slow speed or fast speed. And if it goes at a fast speed, that means war. If it goes at a slow speed, it means that people will start speaking to each other, listening to each other, trying to understand each other. And it's very quick for people to call people racist and Nazis and sexist and all those kinds of things, but nobody's willing to listen to the other side. So in other words, the LGBT community isn't willing to listen to the, shall I say, straight community, shall I say, I think they've even got an acronym for anonymous. Well, yeah, I don't even know. But anyway, they've even now decided that just being straight isn't good enough, and that we have to have a acronym or pronoun or whatever the fuck it is for straight people as well now. So that's kind of interesting, and I found that interesting, by the way, because there's no real way to describe me except I like women. So not a woman that used to be a man, or looks like a woman and has a penis. I like a woman, born female, with the correct parts, Yeah, preferably brunette, green eyes. I'm not going to go into more specifics, but anyway, that you get the drift. So I'm sitting here after a couple of drinks with a vendor of mine, and I've had a really in-depth conversation with this vendor, as well as somebody who used to work with me and used to be my boss, and he's gone through a real tough time and so on, with his wife divorcing him. But she really literally took 4 years of planning to do this. 4 years. Imagine that. Being together for 20 years and your wife takes 4 years to plan to divorce you so she can get the most out of the relationship. And the unfortunate thing is that she was after things. She let him get away with having basically full custody of, or shared full custody of, the kids. So the most important thing is the kids. And if I use my sick mind, she could have used the kids against him to get things out of him going forward. But no, she was so short-sighted. She played the long game. Then she got short-sighted and greedy. And then she basically, for stuff, for a car, for a house, she gave up her parental rights to her kids. Now, this is the kind of thing that makes me think that, are men really this bad, you know? We made out to be these horrible, misogynistic, racist. Anyway, that's all I have for today. That's all I'm going to say. Wish you all a good night. And I'll chat to you later. For those of you